Welcome to The Few, brought to you by Xapo Bank. In this series, we explore the extraordinary journeys of a select inspirational few whose quiet revolutions have sparked change across the globe. Their stories are those of vision, tireless dedication, and unwavering belief. Stories that echo our own. What we see in them, we see in ourselves. What they believe, we believe. And that when human ingenuity and determination come together, anything is possible. In this episode, I'm joined by the multi-talented Metane. He's an award-winning hip-hop artist, a die-hard basketball fan, and an accidental entrepreneur.
I always feel like when life is the hardest, God is just trying to remind me that you're not a sacred cow. You still have to work to be alive in this world. Being alive is not for free. The mind literally accepts anything. If you tell the mind it's small, it will believe that. But that person that's telling you that you're small, they're probably smaller.
Siyabonga, Temba, or Temba, Metane.
Yes.
Those are your full names.
Oh man, sounds right.
Sounds right?
Yeah.
So it's not Temba, it's Temba.
Yeah, I don't know. Temba. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm Zulu and then my other side is Shangan. You know, do people get offended when they say Shangan?
I think Tsonga is also, Tsonga and Shangan are the same thing. You have no idea.
Tsonga, man. Tsonga, Shangan. So when people don't want to say I'm a Shangan, they say, no, I'm Tsonga. Shangan, bam.
Well, I'm interested. Where does Slikour come from? I know it's like so basic, but
Yeah.
I'm curious.
It came from the basketball court. Believe it or not, I used to have like I used to make my own S-curls. I used to do homemade S-curls because I couldn't afford to go to a salon. My parents, when they took me to the salon, were like, Chiskop.
They were just cutting your hair.
Hey, man, Chiskop.
Anything else was expensive.
Chiskop was 10 Rand Pumendabin.
Okay.
You know? So then we discovered this thing called like pomade. Now discovering...
Oh, I remember pomade. I remember. It was a big thing in Joburg though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pomade was like in today's time, like discovering that you can actually get your music to a streaming company without a recording label.
Okay.
Like pomade was like the independence of hair.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Tell me how do you connect the two?
You see, what happens is that the gatekeeper for music is always the labels, right? The gatekeeper for dope hair was the salon.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So now you're like, your pomade literally is like the distro kid of like hair, you know? So like now I'm at home, I do my own skills. I just needed to buy the pomade. And I had like this like, little comb and so I do my curls at the top, my curls would be here, but here on the side, literally like it would like lie down, like bezlele, you know? So when I'd go to the basketball court, they'd go slick. And then, and then like a guy called Peter Lynch, who still is a very good friend of mine, literally like said, you slick, it's slick. So they started calling me slick in the basketball court. So I always called myself Phantom, you know? And I said Phantom Slick. Then I dropped the Phantom, and I had this idea that one day I'll be somebody in my life, and I want to always know where that started from, you know. And I said I'd drop Phantom and I'll just keep Slick because that was given to me by a community, and that's what it is. So the name comes from the community of Leondale. It's called Slick.
Why did you think you were going to be something one day?
I still think I'm going to be something today, to be quite frank. So it's a lingering thought that hasn't stopped. You know what I mean?
So what's the root of this thought?
It's just like, you gotta just like, you gotta just feel special, you know? And I think you forget to feel special.
What made you feel special?
I felt special because, there were things that like, that I would have wished when I saw other people have, I would have wished to have, but I never had, you know? And the more I kind of saw other people having things, I kind of wished to have those things, but I never had them. And it would make me feel like there's something missing, right? But then one day I was like, wait, but like, maybe I have something too, you know? And so, starting to wish for what people had changed to wishing that I had something. and wishing that I had something was the journey of discovering what do I have, what can I contribute, having faith, and then you grow, as you get older, you see how different your life has been, and you kind of don't think that that's the difference of your life, but that's what you contained.
Yeah.
That was like almost like the ingredients
Yeah.
inside of you.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that like it's the journey, and like as when you're a teenager, it's like what do you have that makes you a teenager? When you're in your 20s, what do you have? It's like now when you're a parent, you know, whether you're in a marriage, or you're going through a divorce, or whether you're raising your children, it's still what do you have in these circumstances
That is unique to you.
yeah, that literally will make you feel the pain of the things you're going through, and B, overcome the things that you're going through. Because it's that, what do I have that literally allows you to embrace pain and have the confidence to overcome also. It's when you feel you don't have anything that you are constantly you constantly feel like
Low
you can't get out of
vibration.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the idea of being special. I think I've been, even now in my life, going through a lot of things. I've been feeling extra special in my hardest part of life. I always feel like when life is the hardest, God is just trying to remind me that you're not a sacred cow.
Yeah.
You still have to work to be alive in this
Yeah.
world. You
Yeah.
know, you have to work to be alive. You know, being alive is not for free.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what it is. So for me, it's that idea of I always used to look out, but then everyone was like me. I feel I think that the difference between Patrice and myself is his bank account.
Yeah.
But he's just nothing, just like I am.
I believe that.
Both of us can just get hit by the same car and die the same way. So when you kind of remove the things of the world, then you kind of realize that everybody is adding to the world. So when you
Yeah.
keep on looking at everyone in the world, you are doing less adding. You are becoming a spectator. So you got to literally go, how am I adding? How am I contributing? You can contribute as a leader. You can contribute in something that somebody's already doing and going, oh, this is what this person's doing, but this is where I can add value. You see, it's like Steve Jobs never started wasn't building like the Apple machines. He literally was like, he could have been the mind, but Wozniak literally was the mind. So
Yeah.
if Steve Jobs was like, I can't build a machine, I'm not gonna do anything, he literally wouldn't have been a contributor.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But the value of the vision, the value of like just like going, I think this is what this can be, even if you don't have the skills. Literally, you have to believe. You also have to believe in your mind,
Yeah.
because we people in a world that's created. So why do you think that you literally have to stop creating, but you
And
should
follow.
literally worry if you're literally creating something that people are not familiar with, because it's like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
But just know that like that's just important as the tangibles of life. The ideas are just as important as the things that are already existing in the world, you know?
So what I'm getting from you is, from a young age, you created a world where you defined the rules, and you decided that you were special regardless of what looked special outside. Because you didn't have those things, it did not mean that you were special in your own way.
Yeah, and I also had and this really shocked me, because I also had a grasp of the universal movement of things, without me knowing that, oh, it's the universe. I mean, I remember when I was young, and because I mean, like my son, I talked a lot. I literally just like, and not just talking, I had views of my own that would make people uncomfortable, or I wouldn't see things the way other kids see them. I'd always question things, to a point that like at my school, when I was like in standard 9, the teacher said to me, if it's in grade 11,
Yeah.
a teacher said to me, if you just keep quiet a bit, you could probably be like a prefect, but from a child, and I'm saying when a child's 6, 7, 8 years old, I was the smallest, so I was the one that's like was pushed around. I was the one that was teased. I was the one that like was beaten up because you're speaking a lot, and you couldn't fight back. But in my mind, I always thought, I think this person is taking advantage of me because of their size. I know I can't get them back, but something will get them back.
Yeah.
I understood the universe from it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't of like a Gloria, like this
Yeah.
is what's
Yeah.
like
It was just
bewitching.
understanding how the universe works.
I understood that from like before I was even like 10. And from like 6, 7 years old, I knew that like they're gonna push me around because I'm the smallest guy. They literally gonna squash my views because like, no one expects me to say this. But I know, and it's not a physical, I know emotionally if someone hurts me, and it's not fair. Something like there's in the world, there are bigger things in the world. I had that concept in my mind, and it only dawned on me like a year ago that actually I've always felt there's something bigger
Bigger.
than just me. I've always felt there's something working and there's something protecting me and all of us, because no one has the power to make you feel like you're smaller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like the mind literally accepts anything. If you tell the mind it's small, it will believe that. But that person that's telling you that you small is because they're probably smaller. Do you understand?
They feel what they are projecting to you.
And they've probably also been made to feel that way.
If you had to speak about the prominent caregivers in your life when you were much younger, who were they? And what do you see as some of the influences that they've had on you?
I feel like I've been passed around a lot. Taken. But my mother obviously, literally was working as a nurse, working at night. At times, I know apparently my father used to like also take care of me as a kid, which I wasn't aware of, changing my napkins, blah blah, when my mother is out there. I know that like. And no, man, if he was changing old school napkins. Today, changing a napkin is easy. It's like, you know
Just
what I mean?
picking it, like taking it off, dumping it
Yeah,
somewhere.
you know what I mean? So shout out to him. But I mean, for me, more than anything, it's been women in my life.
I'm picking that up.
Yeah,
I'm picking that
it's
up.
been women in my life, but there's always been a sense of caring and nurturing and kindness and help, and helping. I've never heard my mother curse. I've never even heard my sister curse, neither let alone my cousin. And if I'd spend time in during holidays, it was my uncle. And what was the core thing in my family was love. And I struggle with that because the world doesn't have love. We get into relationships with people, personal, and you kind of realize that people's basis is the point of departure is not love. Um, I struggle with that because there's motive in a lot of things in relationships with people. So I'm from a space of love, and you learn to stop seeking and just start like being in your own space and praying for the right people to come in your space. You know what I mean?
You mentioned that you heard that your father changed your nappy. It's a very interesting way of talking about your father. Is he someone that was not in your life at a particular phase?
Well, my father literally has always been in our lives. I mean, he was a taxi driver. I remember he bought like a Super T taxi, like them old taxis and literally he got into the taxi industry. And then when he got into the taxi industry, he basically got 1, 2, 3 taxis. And obviously the taxi world is a taxi world, but my father, obviously, I could only see who he was as I grew older, but he got dementia like at least like 12 years ago when I wanted to now ask him questions. But when I picked things up, the fact that regardless of the ups and downs they had with my mother, he stuck around. He was present in our lives as a dad. Like when you're a taxi driver, you go for the weekend, you come back. He was present. He was doing what he needed to do as a dad, as an old school father, who was uneducated, finished school. I mean, like when I say finished, well, school finished him in standard one. You know what I mean?
Did you say school finished him?
Yeah.
Instead
He
of
never finished school.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. The rapper in you is always present.
What can I say? The man never finished school. School finished him. They're like, no, we're done with you.
I think I'm gonna use that line in the future a lot.
Yeah, so he was done like in grade 3 with school. He literally studied in the rural rural areas. He used to walk like 30, 40 Ks to school every day. I mean, this is a guy literally like who grew up rural, but he was a present father. When we were rapping upstairs, he was just like, he never like took anything from it. So when I find even he was sort of like a chill kind of soul. He is kind of a chill soul. I speak about him because he is like not in the best condition
I
right
see.
now. So I mean, my father, when I say used to change my napkin, it's like I'm saying the taxi driver used to change my napkin. And this is the thing that I struggle with even in today's time, where I want to change my kids' napkins. I want to hang around with my kids. I want to literally, like, I mean, I posted something recently where we built like a little cupboard with my son for the first time, and then the next week they threw a trampoline that I had to build for my daughter because it was her birthday. But I'm not a handy person, but like, I want my kids to teach me to do things that like now I'm gonna pay to do that.
I
You know what I
love
mean?
that.
So I think I want to get involved, like hands on. And the girl is a challenge because she's 3 years old, and with a boy, you kind of think you like, yeah. My son thinks he's mini me. As I said, I came with him yesterday at the hotel. I'm on the flight, and he was sitting in the front, and already like he was speaking with, like, there are two girls he was speaking with, and like I was like, and he goes, no, I don't know this man. He says it, and he goes in the conversations and has these heavy conversations with these girls, and like when we land, he like grabs the girls and goes, I'm gonna miss you. And like when we're driving here, he goes, I got the Rizzler. I say, what is Rizzler? You know what Rizzler is? No, he goes, I got Rizzler, Bob, I got Rizzler. I'm like, what's Rizzler? It's like this thing that pulls in the girls.
Listen, he's a good-looking boy, so I don't think he's gonna have trouble in that department. But I think it's amazing how you have this ability to be reflective about your experiences and draw inspiration, I imagine, from stories that you're hearing now about some of the what was happening when you were a child, and how it's inspiring you to kind of be intentional and develop a narrative, I guess, for your own children. I want to hear a little bit about the ecosystem of success in Leondale. Every township has an idea of what success is. It could be like that guy that drives the kusheshe, or in the olden days, it's like, if you had a Cressida or if you had a shop. What was the ecosystem of success in Leondale?
I was with the squatter camp guys last week, and we were just laughing because some of the guys are from Heidelberg, and it was really me, Smacks, and the late Nish who were from Leondale. And we were like, you know what? Like, squatter camp, actually, like the beginning of what hip hop was started in Leondale, the Ranakas, they're from Leondale, we're like, basketball actually started in Leondale, like at least like the township mainstreaming of basketball started in Leondale. The celebrities were always in Leondale, you know what I mean? They were always like, Desmond Dube literally is always in Leondale, whatever the case be. Mzwaka Mbuli got shot up in Leondale, you know what I mean? We're like, Dalumpofu literally came with like Keenan and Sizwe, like an entity to Leondale outside the house there, Lebu Matosa came to record at the house in Leondale, Timbi Siete literally came to Leondale. We were like, Leondale was like Hollywood. We used to call it Dailywood. Because like there was just this energy of like just progression, this excitement. I mean, Torio. It was produced like by a guy who literally like lived in a flat opposite the basketball in Leondale.
Yeah.
And it was sang by another girl, and Lebo Matosa then ended up singing. Do you dig?
Wow.
Leondale literally like was just like a hub, of just like like progression, excitement. You know what I mean? I mean, and like, and like, I just, there was just something in that place, that like I had to choose, do I want to play basketball or do I want to rap? And I chose rap, but it was an incredible space. It was progressive. And I think at the time, man, it was like young, we were young guys, obviously from different townships who moved into this place, but we were all progressive. We were all inspired by, most people were inspired by the world, and the beautiful thing is that, like, I think one thing that I feel is great is that for myself personally, which really fills my heart, is that I was able to go back this year and go buy like kits for like the team, the basketball team,
Yeah.
and they were like, yeah, send your logo, and I was like, no, 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 like, no, 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 the last guys that did it, we normally do it. So I just sent my logo, and then they sent me pictures of like it's like three teams led with the kids with the Slikour
I
and
love
live thing.
that.
And for me, it's full circle because those kids are playing in a court where my name came,
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're getting exactly what, like, it's like it's coming full circle,
Yeah.
Those things really are important. And bringing my son, and when Shaka's old enough, bringing my son to those things and taking him through that, because the big thing, people ask me, the big thing I want is to see him to also like be able to kind of understand that he loves the fact that, like, oh, you come from here. He respects the fact that, like, oh, this is what your life used to be like. So, you always you want the foundation to be always remembered, but you also want to show him how hard you work, but you also want to show them how much you give.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fact that you still go back even, and you're connecting with the kids there and what's happening. I want to chat a little bit about that time when you guys start Squatter Camp. And I don't necessarily need the Squatter Camp story. I think that's been told, right? We all know how that happened. When do you start to realize that people are perceiving you differently?
Yeah.
Or people are noticing you
Yeah.
on the streets? And what happens in your mind? I mean, that is not normal. No matter
Yeah.
how constant and affirmed and grounded you are, you just like, I think a couple of more people are staring at me very differently from the time when I was making the song and now that the song is out.
I'm so ignorant,
I can believe that. I can't believe that about you.
Yeah, I'm so ignorant and I'm so unaware of what's happening around me. We have this song, Umoya, and at the time I'm working at like Wits, for a company called Xerox,
Yeah.
and I'm what they call a software engineer. I help to connect the printers.
Yeah.
This is probably
That's where we met for the first time.
Yeah, we've got this song happening. Me, like, remember, I was catching taxis going to Joburg in the same streets in Leondale, so my path hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Still a taxi. This song Moya is big, we're doing shows, I have no thoughts of China, of like anything else, because I'm like, no, I can't. I'm true to myself. I can't afford the car, but okay, is that what people are saying? Okay, cool. So my routine hasn't changed, but
Yeah.
this song is big,
Yeah.
right? I get jacked in the middle of town, I'm just like, yeah, this happens, and this happens to everybody. They take my banana phone. Those Nokia.
Yes,
I had those
yes,
banana,
yes,
I had that
yes.
banana phone, and that was like, shh.
Yeah, yeah.
They take my banana phone. Life is hard, I make some money and I go to my father. Also, I go back to my father. I go, I've got 100,000 for the first time in my life. You know what I mean? My father goes, oh, okay. Why don't you go buy a taxi? And this is where my first negotiation goes. I go, okay, what happens with the taxi? Then he gives me a little bit about the taxi business. I go, okay, I'll buy it, but you handle the ground, I handle the money, right? As in, like, I handle the business account, you go on the ground. Okay, we agree, buy the taxi. I'm still walking now, by the time, literally, like, and this is my awareness of my growth. It's
Yeah.
got nothing to do with the music. It's when I literally do the deal, when I've got this 100,000, and then I kind of go, okay, cool. Now I've got this 100,000. Let me get this taxi. And first 2-3 months, I'm still walking. I've got a taxi. I got a whole taxi in the streets, but I'm catching taxis to
Catching
work.
other
You know
people's
what I mean?
taxis, okay.
4 or 5 months, and then 5th month, I literally buy my first car. And I think for me, it was my journey of growth. I've always been conscious of my journey of growth based on myself as a human being versus the work I put out.
Yeah.
Because the work I put out, once it's out, it's not mine anymore. Once it's out and what people say about it, it's not my opinions anymore. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. I can't really put a time to go, this is when my life has changed. This is when people are seeing me different. Yes, people are going, oh, is that guy, you that guy, you that. But still, it's not registering in my head what it means. Obviously, Squatter Camp started as a hip hop group in my mother's house, but it was the beginning of what like mainstream hip hop would become. And with this group literally like was the people that God brought into my life, who literally like created the space for us to crawl together so people can walk and fly. And then I've realized the big thing that I've realized right now in my life is like, I never got the name Slick from me. I got it from a community.
Yeah.
I never found Flabber. I never found Bozza. I never found Nish. Literally, they came to the place. Different people bought them. I realized that the idea of starting like this website, ventilation.coza, it wasn't like because that was the first one before Slick on Live. It wasn't like a thing, it was an idea that just came to me, and Nyanga came to me and he created all this content. He's the one that he literally left this Cape Town to come and find me and meet me. His goal was to meet me. And when he met me, he literally became the first guy who was documenting this idea that I had. I never even knew that. Do you understand? I mean, when he tells me his story, that he said that if he has to meet the Slick guy, you know what I mean? Then I get into the marketing world, and I told Smacks, I said, bro, this thing that we have called fans is what brands call consumers. How do we literally turn the fans to consumers? Those ideas, I never even used the word consumers. I said brands.
Yeah.
I never understood that those things have got concepts.
Yeah.
It's called consumers. It's called marketing. I just said, Max, we need to just come together with brands. And that's what we did. And, we're probably the first few guys to literally like, as an independently owned business, to literally come together to come and work with the brand, in 2005. And a brand gives the budget directly to us and go handle that. You know what I mean? We're young, it's like now it's common that like creators, artists with like they do events with brands, blah, blah. Right now, we were the first guys to be given that kind of autonomy, inside a campaign. Then, I get into the marketing world, and I'm called a business developer, and I've got shares in this. I don't even understand the concept of that I've got shares in the company under the TBWA umbrella. And but I so don't understand it. I walk away 2 years later and I go, I think I want to get back into the website. I start building the website, but I don't have the concept that these words behind this website. It's called a media platform, right? So you build this media platform, and as you build a media platform, you're like, how do media platforms make money? So I'm always jumping in later, like, how do they make money, right? And you build this media platform, and that literally like 10 years later, which is where we are now. 10 years later.
That's crazy.
You look at it. In fact, it's 9 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I started saying, I need to actually start distributing the music to streaming platforms. Then you know what? Guess what? Steve Stout comes with this thing like United Masters, like a year later, Steve Stout. But the thing is that I'm in South Africa. I've been trying to find the partners that I could do it with Slick on Live, you know? So another thing, when you're in the America, sometimes maybe the things are close and people get the concepts quicker. So literally, I've been talking about this before Steve Stout comes in, right? Then I think about a platform where, okay, now if I eventually build distribution, which is going to launch in a month or so, think about like 3 years or 4 years ago, we think. But then we literally like said, how do we literally pay them? Then I build a platform to pay them. Then someone goes, that's what they call a fintech platform. So I never know what I'm doing. But then people always tell me that, no, something like that does exist. But yours is different because it does 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't build things based on, I'm trying to be bigger than this bank. I'm trying to be bigger than this recording label. I just find gaps because I see my people struggling because of the gaps.
Yeah. So I'm listening to everything that you're saying, and I'm thinking about how you described your childhood as being full of love and compassion. And even when you described it at the beginning, you then mentioned how you still struggle with the fact that everything has some kind of sinister motive in the environment that you're in. So it almost feels like you want to bring that light that you experienced as a young kid in an environment where you knew that the intrinsic motivation for the action was the love, and you kind of want to carry this light into the environment that you exist in now, which is interesting because then you go on and to build a platform business or a media and platform business like Slikour Live, which is also anchored on user-generated content that's generated internally, but also community, right? How do the dots connect from Squatter Camp to Slikour Live?
Slick on Life, Squatter Camp was a group of guys, love, my brothers, and Slick on Life, but music is at the foundation of it. Slick on Life is strangers, but love.
Yeah.
You know, people I don't know who I just love the music, and we want to tell these stories.
Yeah.
And it's a community. We deliberately don't run the platform to be like run scandalous stories. It's a music, or we're a music platform. We're not a gossip platform. It's music, and the basis of it is love. It's the love for what like music creators are creating and showcasing it. Really,
Yeah.
you know. So that's the golden thread. It's love. It's love, communal. It's love, but spreading it into a community thanks to the digital world.
So what sparked the idea initially?
People are not telling our stories.
Yeah.
The artist, we don't know who the artist is. We can't get inspired by these stories. We just hear these songs when they get on radios, 3-minute interviews, or even if it's 30 minutes interviews, it's in between like 10,000s of ads, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't really get a grasp of who is it, but you do it when you watch international content. You kind of know who this artist is and this artist is, so you feel you connected to them. But why can't you feel connected to a guy who's actually probably from the same community you from? So I was like, so if that's a problem, who's creating the platform? And that was the motive. This is before YouTube and podcasting became a thing, because at the time there was nothing like that. So that was really the idea: tell the artist story, highlight it, and the simple motive is love. You know.
Do you think those are important considerations when you create, just as an individual, that you should have that moment of inquiry around, am I willing to go all the way?
Yeah, because you can't only have the fantasy of success. You have to also have the I say the tragedy of loss, you know, but like you have to go and you have to go. But is this something that like I think is, and sometimes you have to dream of these things, you know. Some of them are dreams, you know, and so like that literally, that's your unique, when you know that like you are willing to kind of go, I might get away from a certain comfort, and comfort is not only monetary. Comfort is the people you're around.
Yeah.
You know, comfort is your general default thinking. You could change like your thinking completely.
Yeah.
You know, comfort could be location. You know, it could move me from where I'm staying. You know, comfort could be like how it impacts your relationship with your children. You know, so in the end, you gotta like tick all those boxes and go, I'm comfortable enough to take it to that level, because it feels like it is my purpose. It's like I've already made like a disclaimer to my child. I always told him that, remember, I'm living my life, you know. The only difference is that I need to take care of you, you know. But you live in your life, you know, and you don't have to take care of me. I'm gonna make my decisions. You have to make your decisions, you know. We're two different people. I'm just your father. You know what I mean? So I'm not so, although I love my children, I'm not consumed with the idea that like our lives are one thing. We got separate lives. We got separate things to do, born in separate times. You know what I mean? So my mind is always like, I want to run away from the fantasy of success. People make mistakes when they literally start thinking when they think of the fantasy of success, because then it's like you start imagining yourself being like this, being like that. So it's almost like you're almost trying to feel a deficiency about yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Get you.
So the fantasy of a success literally is like trying to fulfill a deficiency. But the reality of what can happen, what you can lose, that you're going to be successful. I'm gonna be successful, but the cost of success could be this. That literally like means that you really want to make it work. And when you say you're going to be successful, it's because you know the impact it's going to make. You know what I mean? So I'm at a place in my life where people go, so what do you want people to remind you, think of when you die? I don't want you to think of me when I'm dead. I don't. But you will literally be like doing things that you don't know that like it was the work I was doing behind the scenes for you to walk in that place or be in this space or engage with certain platforms or for you to think in a certain way that you could actually do something. You won't even know that I was a part of that. That's why I'm saying you don't even know that for you to think you could be a rapper was because and be successful of rappers because of what we started like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? You don't even know that thought. So that's why you also can't be so held up by, I did this. We supposed to like give, release, forget, you know? So, how much do you want to lose? What's the process? Idea, you want to fix, what do you do? Release. You're part, if God literally plants the idea in your head, if you don't do it, and he gives you the resources. He gives it in dreams, he gives it in people, he gives it in time, he gives it in money, if he gives you different things that like all of them are coming together, but you're not used to these things at the same time, that's a sign. Why are they all happening at the same time? Even the bad one, why is it all happening? If he gives you, oh my gosh, I'm on small. If he gives you all these things at the same time and they're not familiar, you must know that like what you're doing is the right thing.
I just want to clarify something. You mentioned this idea of, falling in love with the idea of success when you are executing an idea or solving a problem. And I think it's important to clarify that that's very different from starting a business with the intention to be profitable. I'm going to say that again, because you mentioned that for you, when there is a problem that needs to be solved, because there is this idea that people latch onto, and I guess because we're emotional beings, of nobility. And I think I live in both parallels of nobility and practicality, right? And I think, and it's interesting because there's so many concepts that are paradoxical in terms of how you pronounce them, but I can understand where they come from because there's a little bit of depth with everything that you pronounce. So when we unpack the idea of we have a problem to solve, so let's not get too attached or fall in love with the idea of the problem, solving this problem, offering us a specific life or a particular life, which you then call this idea of success, is very different from solving a problem through building a profitable business, which then is able to help the entire community, which is then able to move the idea of who we are as a race economically. How do you live in both those parallels? And are there differences? What does that look like?
So you know what? You when I say fantasy of success, there's it's like a fantasy of yourself. You're so far from who you are. You have this fantasy of who you're gonna be when you become this. You asked me, when did I said I've always been myself. I don't have, nothing can make me more Sia Metane, no money, no, I'm just always gonna be myself, you know? And the fantasy of success is like the idea of when you in businesses are different. You could literally be told you're getting a tender to do to build the roads, and that's your business. You do that. You already know that that's a money business, right? If you know how to do the maths, you know how to be profitable. That business is built for you to, there's almost like a way to literally make that business profitable.
Yeah.
And there's also a way to make that business have a loss.
Yes.
So if you get entrepreneurs like that who literally like are fixing what exists. You get entrepreneurs who literally like are fixing what doesn't exist. When you fix what doesn't exist, you move with a lot of faith. When you fix what doesn't exist, you need to fall on your face if it doesn't work, because there were things that existed that you could have put your energy in. So I find myself in the space of the things that don't exist. I find myself in giving the love also and the care and and connecting the worlds of this world and that world. I find myself giving love in a space where there was no love. I find myself trying to help collaboration and the world to literally work with each other in spaces where people literally are not even thinking of each other or not seeing each other the way. I find myself, so those things don't exist. So if I do have a tender to literally clean the sea or do the roads, there's a model to make that bit. Someone else who's done it before can go, you're doing this the wrong way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
For me, no one can say you're doing this the wrong way. They can just say there's a loss here. They can just say, how are you making money here? You know what I mean? So for me, I literally not only have to literally see the thing, I literally have to see where to find the money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I need to find the opportunity and create the idea of the money in this world. You know what I mean? And in this idea. You know, not everyone is not every idea is new, but it's in this idea, right? So a lot of the times is that like when you talk about, when I say the fantasy of yourself or the fantasy of success, you know, like when you literally like are sure that you've got a 20 million rand tender, the money is there. You just need to do the job. You can already like do the projections and you can go, I'm making a profit of like 5 million in 6 months, as an example. You can immediately have that fantasy of success. But like, and what you're going to do with that 5 million, if that is success for you, right?
Yeah.
But if you literally like building things, if you literally are creating, if you're a creator, you cannot live in the fantasy of, I'm going to make X amount in this. You got to live in the fantasy of faith.
Yeah.
You got to live in the fantasy of, this is the impact I think it can make. This is what it can do for people. You know what I mean? Because you already know what building a road is going to do in a place with gravel.
Yeah.
You already know. But I'm telling you now that half the things I'm doing or I've done, I've never known what they're going to result in.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to find even mentors in my space, because literally, like, I literally have to be the mentor, the mentee, the visionary, the vision, literally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to play all these roles for yourself, you know, because it's complex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I cannot have a fantasy of my success in my personal capacity. And I can't even have a fantasy of myself like, oh, I'm so noble. I want to, that's not my thing. I'm just feeling this right now. I'm so selfish to do this thing to help. If it's helping people, I'm selfish to do something of nobility, but I'm selfish about it. You try interrupt it, you'll see me not being a nice person. You know what I mean? So I'd rather have my energy be like aggressive to do something that's gonna help. And that's really also been a lot of part of my journey with Squatter Camp. It's always been like, I sometimes do things that like agitate them for the greater good over time. And then over time, they're like, I'm a shangan. You understand?
Yes.
But so it's those type of things that sometimes you have to do things that make people uncomfortable, but because you know that there's a greater good in the end.
So if anyone heard you speak, particularly around this concept of building businesses that you've never seen and taking the risks that you're taking and the willingness to lose as you build, you start to wonder, and there's a lot of confidence around it, right? There's a lot of assertiveness around it. I personally start to wonder, what kind of financial mistakes are you making as you're building? And which one becomes memorable for you? Because I guess all of these mistakes teach you something, right? You make the mistake, you learn. That's how you learn, by actually going the opposite direction and then realizing, oh, I should have turned left. And it's financial mistakes for me because those ones are big a lot of the time, because they impact not just sometimes your self-esteem and your ability to do things. They impact your family. They impact other people who are dependent on you. What financial mistake have you made as you've built these businesses that you've never seen? And what has that taught you about the process of building businesses that you've never seen?
I think it's always been a resource. Staffing, you make a lot of mistakes, you know? And then also, you know, staffing mistakes are the most expensive ones for me, to be quite frank. And it's difficult to find good people, you know. I think those really, if I had to say financial mistakes, that would be it, you know. I think if I made mistakes financially any other time was maybe like because I learned from my mistakes when I was doing the music.
Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot of that. You know, the thing about that was that it was always just like, it's like when you have, it's like the books, you know, how do you do the books, you know, when you have,
yeah.
when you do the music? It's just general things of like, you know, how you contractually like hire people, you know what I mean? It's
And a contract is a financial document, right? In a way, it informs a lot of the financial movements and decisions.
Yeah. It's where do you make your income from?
Yeah.
You know, and how sustainable is it to have certain resources? And if you can't afford certain resources, can you get them for a few hours? You know, instead of saying, I just can't afford this. You know. And I mean, if they're good, if those resources are really good, they'll really make use of those hours and give you value. Yeah, but I think most things are based, are literally heavily based on people. People literally are the biggest issue.
They're a big challenge, but also when you get that right, that's the magic, right, of creating. It is the community. Well, I'm going to end our conversation here. I think what I take away from speaking to you, especially around solving problems with ideas that don't exist yet for potentially a community that
doesn't know they need them.
that doesn't know they need them, that is sometimes not at the forefront of creating solutions. You probably will be one of those people who made particularly young people that look like you believe that it's possible. So good luck with everything. I can't wait to see what you're developing, because I always know there's something on the pipeline, and we'll definitely be rooting for you.
Shout out, we in these streets.
Thank you for joining us. This has been The View, brought to you by Xapo Bank.